Hello and welcome back to the Personal Trainer Portal podcast. I can't believe you're putting the middle finger up, Pete, when we're starting a podcast.
That was embarrassing, Lewis. Really embarrassing.
Don't put it on me.
It was you.
Well, people can see the video evidence if they're watching on
Exactly.
Spotify.
Yeah, they won't see it if they're listening. No.
No, they won't. If they do, there are some special powers they've got.
Aliens.
Yes, aliens. That's what I say as well.
Ooh.
God, I've got to do this every week. Anyway, we're on episode 87 today. We're going to be talking about concentrating on the wrong areas of your personal training business. And you might think we've spoken about this before. And you'll find out that you're absolutely right. We have spoken about this before, but we've got to really ram our ideas home because we want you to be prosperous personal trainers at the end of the day. We wouldn't do this if we didn't want that, would we, Pete?
We wouldn't. Where are you ramming these home?
Wherever they want it ramming.
Well, everyone's got their own preference.
Exactly. And there's no judgments here. Anyway, not on that note, because we're not going to go down we're not going to go down that rabbit hole or any type of hole.
Soon.
It is Valentine's in
exactly,
what?
So.
As of recording this, it's the 9th. So Valentine's is in what? Next Tuesday, 5 days. Whether or not this is out by Valentine's Day, then you might have already. Who knows in podcast land anymore? But as I was saying, we're going to be speaking about concentrating on the wrong areas of your PT business. But first, talking about wrong uns. How are you doing, Pete?
Great. I thought you were going to say talking about ramming and then going. I thought, where's this going? But,
where is this going?
A stiff twist. I'm good. How are you?
All good. All good. What's been happening in the Tenerife? I can't think of a nickname for you.
What's been happening in the Reef?
What's been happening in the Reef?
Well,
the Tenerife Destroyer.
It is prime pensioner season here. So
is it? That's why you're there then?
That is why I'm here. Yeah, I doubt you could get a mobility scooter for love nor money at the minute.
Really?
They're all out on hire. And you see them in all sorts. You see your standard single. You get a double, almost like looks like a stretch convertible. Well, it is convertible. They're all convertible. Although I have seen some adaptations in the UK where they have like a rainproof sort of cover.
Oh yes, I have seen those.
But yeah, they're convertible here, but you get a stretch one, and it's like a seat in front, seat behind you. So you've got your lass in the back, or your lad in the back, whatever preference. No judgment here. And yeah, great for ramming, those are. But yeah, so there's lots of mobility scooters out and about, full of pensioners, because they're over here for the good weather. But weather's been a bit rubbish, you know.
Oh, has it?
So, I mean, warmer than you, but these people do like to have a little more about the weather.
January, February is the worst time for the weather. Even in Tenerife, it's probably the coldest time, isn't it?
I'm going to put it on record here. There's no refunds if there's no sun, unfortunately. So you can't give a refund.
I bet that joke has been said a million times
if I had a euro every time someone dropped that joke, I wouldn't be on this podcast.
Give me money back. There's no sun.
I usually make the joke, well, I've got a meeting with the big man. See what I can do. So, yeah, so no refunds are given.
No refunds are given.
But yeah, I'll tell you what excitement I had. So last week, as Lewis, I had our usual slot for filming, recording. Recording, filming, whatever you want to call it. This podcast, I couldn't make it, could I? Because where was I?
You couldn't.
Where were you? Where
were you?
I was jet setting. Not a holiday as such. It was a flying visit. And it was a 12-hour stint to Newcastle and back. I didn't see you actually in this time.
No.
I didn't have the time. Two Black White Army. So we made it the semis.
You've got a what?
The semi that night, I'll tell you that.
Oh, you weren't ramming it anyway.
I've still got a semi, actually, since the semi. So yeah, as we record this, he used to say, what's holding the laptop up? It's not a coffee table. And we'll leave it there.
It's the mobility scooter.
Oh no, it's the semis from the semi.
Right.
So it was fantastic. Flew back with another lad from Tenerife, who's also a big Newcastle United fan. So we flew back, and yeah, it was great. Got back, 2 hours before kickoff? And after flying via Lanzarote, long story, but I had to go Tenerife, Lanzarote, Newcastle, just to get there in time, because the only flight that got me in was give me like 40 minutes to get from the airport to the stadium. And I would have been panicking if there was a hold up, and it would have been tight getting a taxi and there probably on a match day anyway. So flew back, literally took in the match, had a couple of beveraginos after, and then crashed on the sofa and back on a flight that will have to be at the airport at 6 a.m.
Tell you what.
I tell you what, that's dedication. That is dedication.
I cannot believe you came over here for 24 hours just to see the game.
It was worth it for the semi. And I'll let you think about that, which semi I'm on about. But yeah, so it was, I think Newcastle United are thinking about giving me a medal for the dedication. They're sort of trying to sort it out maybe at the end of the final. When
is that so, is it?
They're gonna give me a medal for that.
For the semi?
I mean, for the semi, yeah.
Have you a pill to help you get the full?
I don't need a pill for that semi, yeah. But yeah. I did get asked the last year if I knew of anywhere that I could get a pill like that would give you a semi.
Is this something you want to be disclosing on the podcast?
Probably not. Maybe we'll leave that another day.
But if you do want that, you can message Pete privately.
Yeah, I just want to put on record, do not deal drugs.
I just want to clarify that isn't the nature of this podcast, is it?
No, it isn't. We're not talking about drugs on this. Only the drug that you can take to get more clients. That's the only drug we sell.
Exactly. Exactly. So as I was saying,
wow.
Well, I was just segueing into the topic of the podcast, which is concentrating on the wrong areas of your business, which is wasting time, money, and effort. So to start off with, wasting time. The last thing you want to do when you're a PT is waste a lot of time, especially if you do have a few clients on the wrong areas, and you don't want to waste a lot of money. And obviously you don't want to waste a lot of effort, which ties into time and money. So Pete, do you want to kick off a little bit about maybe the lessons we've learned with wasting time, money, and effort?
Yeah, so I think this is a big one, because when we started out, we didn't have a podcast like this that would tell us what to avoid, what not to spend time, money, effort, any of that on. We just sort of figured it out as we went along. So I think the reason I come up with this idea was mainly to get over to new PTs something that we didn't have, basically. If we maybe had this, we would have saved a few quid. We probably would have had a bit more time to put towards areas that would have been more beneficial to us. So I think the idea was just to give the listeners, viewers, a bit of direction, but a way to save them making a similar mistake to what we did, or mistakes to what we did. So I think when you start PT, and there's a lot of companies out there that maybe want to steer you in a certain direction and promise you all sorts of things. More clients is usually at the heart of it, whether that's advertising on certain platforms, whether it's not to bash them, but there's a lot of weight loss sort of companies out there that might want you to take a certain shake or drink a certain gel. I don't want us to get shut down on this, so I'm trying to be vague, as much as vague as I can be. These sort of weight loss dieting companies that will reach out to you and they'll say that their company and our company are basically can be mutually beneficial, and there's a clear path for us to work together, and you can make a bit of money on the side, bit of a side hustle in what you do, and you have a captive audience in front of you, and then you can make a bit more money on that. And usually there's a pyramid sales set up within these companies. Do you think I'm being vague enough there? Or...
I mean, I think you've mastered the art of beating around the bush.
Yeah, I think I was born with that skill. But yeah, go on, sorry.
I think the main thing is you're probably asking, where shouldn't you concentrate on, or what shouldn't you concentrate on, should I say, and what should you concentrate your efforts on. So we'll start off with where not to concentrate your efforts first. And we have spoken about this in other podcasts, okay? So first one, I would say, is flyers. And I'm going to say flyers because it's the one I always bring up. So
poor flyers.
I know, poor flyers.
You'd really have it in for them. I think there's something personal here.
I know.
Did the flyer like do something to you as a child?
Not specifically, but I think I've got it in from when we were at the gym. We used to do 12-hour shifts, as most avid listeners of the PTP podcast will know. We used to do 12-hour shifts. We didn't pay rent at the gym, but we'd have to do 12 hours a week as our time rent almost. But there was some times, I don't know if you remember this, Pete, where if we had nothing to do, our manager at the time, if we didn't have a class, a gym tour, or there was no cleaning to be done, he'd send us out in the streets of Gosforth to go and hand flyers out and put flyers through letterboxes. I don't know if you remember that. But yes, it was advertised in the gym mainly, but he said if you wanted to, you could attach some of your business cards and put them through the letterboxes as well. But I did do that. And maybe I'm associating that with it being cold, wet, and not getting paid and not wanting to do it. But I just felt like flyers and business cards, they tie in together. It's the same. I'm categorizing those two in the same area. Is you're not really building a relationship by handing someone your flyer. All you're doing is giving someone a bit of paper, advertising who you are and what your name is, and to contact you. Well, why should they contact you? Just because it says Lewis Horsley, personal trainer, at the, I nearly said the gym we worked out there, at XYZ gym in Newcastle. People aren't going to look at that and go, oh, that I definitely need to contact him. They don't know why they should contact me. They don't know that I specialize in what they actually have struggles with. They don't know that I specialize in getting them to the goal. And I always just felt like it wasn't an ideal way of creating business. And we used to always at the end of giving an induction, give someone a business card. And I can't ever remember a time where I gave someone a business card and they got back in contact with me. It was always when I took their number and then reached out to them to then get them in to speak to them again within the gym. So I actually built a little bit of rapport there by having that personal one-to-one contact that I actually got them to become at very least, someone who was interested in PT or potentially a client. So to summarize what I'm saying, I would advise, in my opinion, steering away from flyers, business cards, because you're not building any one-to-one connection.
Yeah, and I think just to touch on that with the flyer scenario is it's like a cold call.
Yeah, it literally
is. Company rings you out the blue. They don't know if you need that service they're offering you, and you've never had a conversation. They don't know what you look like, any of that, and then you're just expecting that they're going to want a PT with you. I mean, the chances are slim to none, really. And the amount of flyers and business cards you probably would have to put out to what you would get back would be just, I don't think the effort and time, let alone the money, not that flyers and business cards cost a lot now, but I just don't think you've got the time in the day to do that, to get you anywhere from what it would convert back. I mean, if you remember back to when we were at the gym, we had a little profile on the wall,
yes,
didn't we, about who we were, what we offered, what qualifications we had, that a lot of people, oh, he's a level 2, he's got level 2. Oh, that's great. I was looking for a level 2 and a level 3 qualified PT. He might be the man for me. But yeah, no one actually cares really about those qualifications. But you had a little thing next to it that you would put your business cards in, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So if you weren't in the gym, it would flock over and take one and then give you a call. And I think at some points I would count how many
I remember, yeah, we all did it.
We all did it.
And then it used to go down, but then I never get any calls or texts or anything. So it was like people would pick them up just for the sake of it.
I used to wonder if other PTs were just fucking with us.
I agree.
Were they just like trying to get into your head?
Maybe I was the one taking yours and you were the one taking mine.
Maybe. I did often have like little bonfires in the back garden. But yeah, no, so maybe you wanted to take them. So I thought, wow, the inquiries are going to be ringing in this week. And then I would lower my game. And then you'd maybe slide in and take some potential PT clients. Who knows?
Who
But yeah,
knows?
I think to get back onto it, things like that, I got stung. The big sort of lesson of what I shouldn't have done that I did do is I did sort of a lot of these like trade fairs. I don't know if you remember me. I had a banner and everything.
Oh yes, I do remember them.
I had a pull-up banner.
That's how hardcore you were.
I know. I'd take my banner to these sort of expos, as I like to call them, and I'd sort of set up a little stall. And I'd have some flyers
the
and
network
cards, and I'd set up there, and I'd have my banner, some results on there, a little bit about what I offered. And I made contacts, a few people through that, and I did pick up 1 or 2 clients over the years of doing it. But someone approached me that did adverts, and they sort of offered me the world basically through this advert.
So they were trying to get business from you, who you were trying to get business from someone else.
Yeah. And they sort of told me I would be in the cinema. I'd see the adverts, not me on not on film, but the adverts would appear in cinemas and things like that. Yeah, it never came off really. But that was a lesson learned.
Did you pay the money?
I paid a little bit of money, yeah.
How much are we talking? Let's get serious.
That's not embarrassing.
How much was it in the hundreds? It must have been. It must have been if it was an agency.
And let's just say I got nothing from that. So don't be naive like I was. But yeah, I wouldn't touch that sort of thing with a barge pole.
So that comes in the category of maybe sponsored ads, or maybe going through some type of agency by the sounds of it. And it all links to the same thing. Sponsored ads are the same as agencies. If you've got to a point where you've got a lot of clients, you've got a lot of money to reinvest in the business, and you want to try it out, yeah, that's fine. But if you're in a position where you've only got a few clients, I would definitely think about more organic routes of, which we're going to touch on a second first.
I think, you've got to remember with sort of sponsored ads, social media, if you are an in-person PT, I don't think that's the area you need to be concentrating on yet. That will come over time, and Lewis mentioned they're organic. So that's a case of it growing organically and not you forcing it by sponsoring ads and trying to drive people. If you're starting out, you've got to get that gym locked in. So you've got to get clients in that gym. When you've got clients in there and you start getting results, that growth will happen organically. But you going in first few weeks, months, and you haven't got many clients and you start doing sponsored ads, I think you're almost
just throwing money down the drain.
Well, you're peeing in the wind, aren't you? And
yeah, you're doing something in the wind.
We all know what happens when you pee in the wind.
Yeah,
you get wet.
Exactly. So on that note, what do you think people should do? Where do you think people should start first? If I'm someone who's looking for clients, I don't know really where to start. I've tried for the last 3 months in the gym and I don't really know what to do. So I'm thinking about getting flies. I'm thinking about spending money on ads. Where do you think the first place I should start?
Well, I tell them to bin off that idea straight away, avoid the cinema. But on a serious note, I would just sit yourself down, have a think, get a bit of paper, get a pen, right? Where are my clients? You can answer this question if you want. Let's just say I'm telling you, I'm the voice in your head.
Okay.
But giving you the guidance. So
okay.
Where are your clients?
Well, not with me because I don't have any, but all the potential clients.
Where are the
potential
clients?
In the gym. The gym I work at.
They're in the gym. So how can you target those people in the gym? It's not going to be through social media straight away, is it?
No. It's probably the place I see most people is in the gym. I just don't know what to say to them.
Well, that's where you need to sit down with this pen and paper you've got and work out what to say to them. So what sort of things should we be asking them?
So usually I go up to them and tell them that I'm a PT, but often when I do that, people don't really care.
Right. So this goes back to the lesson we learned from flyers through a post box. You essentially being a flyer through your post box in the gym by just telling them you're a PT. You've not talked to them. You've not maybe had a relationship with them before. So it's essentially a cold call. You going straight up to them and saying, "Do you want a PT with me?" So you need to think about it and change up your approach. So just go and talk to them. "How are you? My name's Pete. If you need any help, just give us a yell and I'll help you." Just ask them about the time of day, what the weather's like. You just have a bit of conversation that's nothing to do with you trying to get them to give you money. And by sitting down and having a script as such, not that I'm telling you to walk around with a script. We've mentioned that every time we mention a script, we say don't walk around with a script. So this is a script you learn. It's in your head, ready to go. And by the time you've done it for a week or two, it's just in your head.
I just want to jump in and say, if you need a script, head to the link in our description where we've got a completely free template to speak to prospects on the gym floor, what to say, how to say it, especially if you're struggling on the content of the conversation.
Oh, that was pretty smooth. Love that. Yeah, so it's talking to them and just passing the time of the day. You're just starting a relationship essentially with them. So you just said hello, how are you? Give them value in terms of if they need any help. My name's Lewis, my name's Pete. I'll be over there. I'm on shift. Whatever it is, and I can show you a few things or give you any guidance if you're stuck. Which is great. People are probably there and they're too afraid to ask. So you're breaking down those walls straight away. Next time you see them, you'd have a bit more chat with them, maybe offer them a bit more help with something else, or maybe ask them why they're training, whatever it is. But you're starting to build that relationship, get the defenses down, get the walls down so they don't think you're just there for the hard sell. So that's, if we go back to the point, if customers are in the gym, so we've got to talk to them. We've got to talk to them for them to come and coach with us or work with us in the long process. And we don't want to be the car salesman. We want to be the nice person that can give them help and advice and doesn't expect anything back. That is the sort of person we've got to be to build that system and conveyor belt. And conveyor belt is a term we use all the time. But it's basically that relationship building that I'm talking about. That we're just calling that conveyor belt. So that when you're trying to crack this, getting clients in your gym, can visualize it.
Exactly.
On the conveyor belt, they're moving along. You start them off and finish is coaching them or them coaching with you in your PT business.
I think that's the main thing, isn't it? Is it sounds like most people, and we were in the same position, you almost want a quick fix. You're like, oh, maybe social media will work. Maybe posting free workouts on Instagram is going to get me the clients. Maybe putting loads of infographics up on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or YouTube is going to get me the clients. You find out it doesn't work. Oh, you know what? I'm going to try giving business cards out in my gym. You find out that doesn't work. You're always going on to the next thing. When in reality, if you just went back to basics and accepted the fact that if you just spoke to more people on the gym floor, provided a bit more value without trying to just sell to anyone and everyone, you will get more clients. And again, we speak about this on the podcast all the time. As Pete just said there, the conveyor belt system. So taking someone from being a stranger, introducing yourself, as Pete has already said. Once you've introduced yourself, you're not mentioning anything on that first initial conversation. Maybe in the same session, maybe it's half an hour later, or maybe it's the next day when you see them. That's when you can ask more about them. Go up to them and say, I've noticed you're not really sure on how to use the leg press. I've seen you reading the instructions. Would you be against me a few things because I've got 5 minutes on my time? And then once you are showing them some exercises which will benefit them because you're the PT, you're the expert, that's when you can ask the questions like, what are your goals? What are your problems? What are your struggles? And you're not selling yourself. You are just finding more about them. And if you want to know more about the in-depth conveyor belt system, you can listen to our other podcasts or head to the link in the description again, where it goes into detail. And then after this, where else should we concentrate on, Pete? Maybe something like systems.
So systems, that would be sort of anything from creating a follower. Maybe you've given some value. The system could also involve giving value. And once you make, whether it's a document on nutrition or training or some videos that people can listen to that will help, you've got that in the bank. That can be essentially a system. So when someone you've spoken to for a few weeks flags up they've got a problem in this area, you have the material to give them. So that's a system. Then you create a follow-up to get them in. Hopefully they've used something that you've given them, training document, nutrition, whatever it is, some exercises. And then you follow it up by seeing how they've got on so they can see some progress, get some quick wins. And that all feeds into sort of moving them again down the conveyor belt towards the end.
Exactly. And to summarize what we're saying here, because I know we might be going into quite a bit of detail, especially if this is the first podcast you've ever listened to. So first off, you're not wanting to, sounds cliche and obvious to say this, but you're not wanting to waste time, money, and effort. That sounds obvious, but you might be thinking, well, how do I know how not to do that? Well, try not to concentrate your efforts into certain areas. For example, as we just said there, maybe sponsored posts on Instagram or Facebook, or flyers and business cards, or spending too much time on social media on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook to try and get clients. Instead of doing those things, which most people do, and it does work for some people, what we recommend, as we've just spoken about, is concentrate most of your efforts on talking to more people in the gym to spark up real conversations on that metaphorical conveyor belt system we like to use, that analogy, so we can get them to becoming a long-term paying client. And as Pete said there, using certain systems to follow up with people, whether that's with prospects who are interested, but maybe you haven't led them into a consultation, or maybe it's systems in place once they have become a client to make sure you keep them as a paying long-term client as well, and making sure that we're giving value all the time. That's the main thing we're trying to do here. And I know value is a cliche term, but we've done a podcast on what actual value is, so you can go back and listen to that. But I think we've pretty much covered everything there, Pete. I don't want to dilute it too much. So I think that's covered everything. Essentially, don't waste your time, money, and effort. Get to the point where we're concentrating on the right areas, and I promise it will work.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it there. Consistently talk to people, have conversations, and don't hard sell. That's my takeaway from that.
Bosh. And that's it. So if you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to rate it. We always forget to say that at the end. And if you liked it, or if you want some more information, as I said, head to the link in the description. We've got free stuff there, including templates for conversations. We've got our PTP protocol, which obviously is there to help you earn more money, get more clients, and reduce the stress of starting out in the PT industry. So if you like this podcast, again, go and do all that, and we will see you in the next one.
See you later, guys.
See ya.